So if you've ever been ghosted, the first question that you have usually is why, right? Why would they do this? And usually what the gut punch is in all of this is that this is usually at the time where your relationship is starting to blossom. You're starting to feel a little bit more open and safe with this person. And for a lot of us, if we've been ghosted, sometimes it happens after you've actually, allowed the person to have physical intimacy with you. And that's kind of the worst ones, right? And so I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and she had been dating someone, and every time I saw her, she looked really ecstatic and happy, and it warmed my heart. And then recently I ran into her, and there's like a hint of sadness that she was trying to hide. And so, we talked and found out that, they were dating, they were seeing each other, it was going really well. And seemingly, out of nowhere, he just up and ghosted her. And so, her question to me is the same question that I had, right, when it happened to me, is why? What did I do wrong? It's all about what I did wrong. And so for so many of us who have survived trauma, the first thing we do is we internalize, right? That's the first thing. Something happens to us, someone does something to us. It's, what did I do to incur this or to deserve this? And it's because so many of us were raised that way, right? Being taught to blame ourselves for something bad that happened to us or a boundary that was crossed. And so that's the first thing she does is she says, I just want to know what I did wrong, why. And I've been out of the dating game, obviously, now for years, but I said to her, why you were ghosted was for your protection. And I know that people don't want to hear this, but when you are ghosted, it is the cleanest way for God to intervene and take someone right out of your life. Because, a lot of times when we have like toxic relationships, especially if they're like long-term, you kind of go back and forth and you don't really, have the resolve to clearly end it. Ghosting takes the decision right out of your hands. You no longer are in charge of whether this relationship continues or not. They've now ghosted you. They've relieved you of the option. And so, when it first happens, it's super painful. I've had it happen to me. It's super painful, and it's like a little bit embarrassing. I don't know why, but just like it's a little bit embarrassing. But then you have to think about it this way, right? Someone who ghosts you is emotionally immature, is a pretty bad communicator. I think we would agree on that. And sometimes it's just downright cruel, especially if this is, when you're expecting to go to the next stage of the relationship, or, it's, you just, became physically intimate for the first time, maybe 1 or 2 dates before. And so when that happens, you have to think about it this way. You are being spared. The type of person who is thoughtless enough to just cut off all communication when they could have easily sent you a text, an email, a voicemail, whatever it was, and let you know this isn't working anymore. Or if it was something small that may have transpired between the two of you, like the night before or something like that, and they didn't feel the need to work that out with you, or at least give you the chance to express yourself or say something about it, you have to imagine this person is thoughtless, is not a good communicator, particularly if you have like people in common. If you have mutual like friends or family, friends and family, like kind of that it's your family dating, their friend or something like that. You just know each other, you guys grew up together or something like something like that, and they have no issue just completely leaving you with no communication. This person is not somebody that you want to have on your life journey. Like, I've been married for years. You need to have basic communication skills to have a successful marriage. You need to be thoughtful, to last in a long-term healthy relationship. Ghosting says right out the bat, I don't have those skills. And now, I'm not lumping all ghosters in. I know that there is no contact, right? There are people who go no contact, and that's a regimen that you do when you're dealing with a narcissist or a highly toxic individual. So I get that. But, it's not a reflection on you. You were ghosted because you were being protected. When it happened to me, I thought the person was dead. Like, this was before really social media was like a thing, and I thought the person was dead. And I found out later on they were very much alive. But when they ghosted me, it took me a while to really process it and sit with it and not, sit with the humiliation of it and the confusion. But, a couple years went past and I had some level of success, like personal success had happened in a couple of years. And, as I suspected, he came back, and after months of, making him work his way back in, I got to see firsthand all of the things that I was spared from the first time when he ghosted. That thoughtlessness, that lack of communication, that emotional immaturity showed right up. Having a longer term relationship with him, it wasn't that long, it was less than a year, but having that longer term relationship with him, all of the red flags that show up in someone who ghosts showed up and manifested in the actual relationship. So little did I know, 2 years earlier, I was actually being spared. And so that's why I told my friend, he likely will come back around. I would burn my thumbs and have them in a cast before I would communicate back to this person, because you choose to act like Casper and be a ghost. I'm not resurrecting you. I'm not resurrecting you back from the dead. You stay dead. Like, that's it. You don't text back someone who has ghosted you. They're Casper. You look crazy texting back a ghost. Like, that's it. They've chosen to die to you. That's what it is. Because if they come back, I can tell you from personal experience, the fact that they did that to you and think that they can come back and then are allowed back in, it is not going to end well. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to end well. So if you've experienced this recently, I promise you, you are being spared. And I don't know if you have a praying grandmother or best friend or whoever, you are being spared a emotionally immature, thoughtless person. I'm sorry. And I know there's going to be some people who ghost. You may have your reasons. That's fine. But there is just basic human decency, particularly if you've been physically intimate with this person, and this person, this person has had a history of hurt before, is cruel. It's cruel. Unless you're going no contact with, an abuser or a narc, it's cruel stuff. And so I encourage you, if you've experienced this recently, do your best. I know it's hard. Do your best to not take that personal and not internalize that. Please.